Alright, so today's video is a continuation from my original one. Because the original video, the original beginner's guide, beginner's tips and trick, whatever I labeled it, I don't even remember. Uh, I still use all of those habits in one way, shape, or form. All of those habits have either evolved or just gotten sharpened uh, since I cut that. They worked, and so with that, I have a couple new habits as well. Um, so here's a list of what kind of worked from the last video that has gotten me up to now GM, and this is kind of specifically for like after gold, because bronze to gold is really just like learn your job, learn how to stay alive, learn how to influence and win team fights, and like play objectives, right? Like learn how to climb. After that, in plat, you start to sort of get like new things. I think my Elsa was really terrible. I think that's a big part of why I switched. I don't remember exactly. Anyways, I'm gonna try not to look at the gameplay, so not get distracted. So what absolutely works is playing one role. The role hopper, I'll work around you. Problem is both better and worse in plat and above, in that like it happens less from incompetence or indecision, but it's worse that like now you start to have players of like they have knowledge of a counter pick and they're gonna choose that, whether they know how to play that or their counter that they're countering knows how to play that. So like an example is I've been asked plenty of time in my 100 hours as Rocket to switch around a Phoenix. I will not switch if a Phoenix has demonstrated that like they don't fucking hold their ult. Right? Like if I see that this Phoenix has no ult discipline, like no, I'm just gonna play around them. That's easy. if if a Phoenix will hold their ult the entire game waiting to hear my sound line, yeah, okay, I'll swap. We're not getting any value from that, you know what I mean? But like a little bit of discernment came with practice and application. So like you need to stress test whether the counter is needed or not. Like if it's like, oh, this Angela's a problem, yeah, get Sue and Thing and maybe Thor. If it's like, oh, this Angela's kind of an idiot, like whatever, carry on whatever your comp is, you know. Another thing that worked / was kind of a new habit was 2 accounts. You're watching gameplay from an alt account. It's tremendous value if you are serious about climbing, because I can care about my main account and the rank I have, and I can like I can make mistakes in a slightly more free sort of arena, right? It also really helped me discover my best local times to play. My alt account at one point peaked higher than my main. This was like early on. And early on you'll do that. Like way early on, like your alt's gonna be... If you have a low peak, your alt is gonna be around your peak. It might even out peak. God, it depending on how your placements go, it might even out peak. But anyways, that's a different anecdote. But yeah, at one point, my alt account peaked higher than the main, but then it also deranked more drastically, due in part to time frames. There were like pockets of time ranging from 9 p.m. Sundays to the week after 4.5, because I started playing just before Season 4. And so even by the Season 4's half season, I started to notice this sort of trend. Like, for example, the last week of ranked and the first week of a new season. It's kind of toned down. We're going to see how Black Hat season release goes with the 7.5, but the 7.5 has sort of toned down. Like, you still have the one problem, but you don't have the two problems. At season reset, you have the problem of, like, people that want out of their reset rank immediately. So they're, like, aggro and, like, half tilted always, right? About, like, I gotta get out of here. I'm with GMs again. I'm with golds again. I'm with silvers again. Like, whatever their reset rank is at the beginning of a fresh season, they're aggro to get out of there. And then you also, compounding with that, you also have the new character in ranked locker problem, or the ban my character, I throw locker, right? And so you're going to have local time frames, and then you're also going to have just, like, a time period when, like, the community is kind of at its worst behavior. Like, this, it's just a thing I've noticed. Because, like, a lot of people in groups and discords I'm in right now are having problems climbing right now. And it's, Black Cat comes on Friday. It's, it's at a season move over, churn over. And then locally, for me, I find that I can get, like, I don't know about GM now that I'm up in the GM bracket. We're going to see as we go through season 7.5. But the Plat Diamond time frame was consistent on console, local to me in Central Texas. I found that, like, I can get a couple games in the morning with other, like, stay-at-homes and, like, homesick kids or whatever, like, but, like, it's not consistent enough to climb. There are, depending on what patch just released, if it influences ranked, and there's a lot of duos and trios and stacks queuing on the Dallas server, local to me at, like, 1 to 7 p.m. is, like, not great. But immediately after about 7 p.m. for me, like, I found huge success. All the way up to, like, 11, 12 at night. I was finding... So, like, I had to play with that. And by having two accounts, I got to notice. Like, oh, wow, I'm consistently on both accounts getting, like, terrible teammates at 2 p.m. Like, whatever. Yeah, right? It was an observation that came out of repeated exposure. I don't super on the note of new accounts, by the way. I do have this note in here from back when I wrote it. I stand by this, rereading it. Outside of time frames, I don't know if a second account is closer to necessity until Plat 2 plus, which is I stand by that statement. If you're Plat 3 and below, like, you can still make mistakes. It's not going to feel as great, and you might obsess over your win rate, but, like, you're still in a position where everybody else in your rank, teammates and enemies, enemy teams included, are making enough mistakes that, like, if you recover from mistakes quickly, like, you could turn it around, right? Like, I'm not about to practice a new character in my new peak rank of GM. Like, just in my GM rank up game, a fucking cracked hella was two-shotting people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm obviously playing at a different paradigm. I don't have the same luxury for correcting mistakes. I can now make my mistakes and correct them. I can't learn from others in the same way that I could in those lower medals. Yeah, it was helpful for not tilting early, but I got decidedly more value out of a second account in a rank closer to my true peak. Yeah, that's true. That note, as well as the necessity of Plat 2, I still stand by that. Okay, here's a new habit since the first video. Blank till Lord. So I got Lord on Sue. I started the game sort of hip-hopping, right? Like I started with Groot and Magneto and Strange, and I would like never play them in 2 games in a row. I'd be like, oh yeah, that didn't work for me. And eventually I came to the understanding in my half season before I took the game seriously, you know, because you got to get to level 15 before you can even go to comp. In that time, I found that like there was so much about this game to learn, I wasn't gonna tank full-time yet. And so I switched to support. And I switched to Sue specifically because as a tank, I found that she could control space better. You know, I just really liked Sue for that reason. But I got Lord on Sue, and when I did, I immediately started working on Rocket Lord. So Shoddy was the first YouTube creator that I found that kind of recommended this, but I refined it by watching streamers. One streamer in specifically, B-Hops, is a top 500 tank, and he used for sub goals, like every 20 subs or 50 subs or something, his community would choose the next character for him to Lord. And so, like, I watched him Lord Mantis, I watched him Lord Jeff, I watched him Lord Magic, and Daredevil. Daredevil on release, too, on top of it. So, like, that was double-double. I noticed, watching him do this, it made him a better player in a couple different ways. One, by not allowing him to swap off during the initial, like, I don't like it here, imposter syndrome period, he was forced to adapt and improve through the apprehensive process, like through the early part, the icky part, right? By not being able to swap off, he learned, like, in real time what his hard counters were, real hard counters, right? Versus, like, characters who could outplay you, right? Versus, you know, the monkey can push this button and hard counter you. By playing one character Lord, he rapidly cataloged what maps and, like, modes and matchups worked really well for him. Like, he personally just found that, like, he really liked a Mantis in a domination match and a convergence map versus just straight convoy, right? Like, just as an example. And I find for Sue that, like, I don't necessarily like, I definitely like her on a cart and a convoy far better than a domination map. But, like, I can roll with her on a domination map. It's not a problem, right? So, like, I kind of understood where he was coming from in that regard.
Bloodstones don't go down quite so easy.
He's a top 500 player, right? So he already has great game sense. But the new perspective, like the forced new perspectives of these different characters, different roles, different characters in a different role, provided him an even broader game sense and allowed him to make plays afterwards he wouldn't have considered from his previously limited perspective. Right, like, keep in mind, you know, this player that I'm talking about only had to learn the character and its place within a team. Right, so much of the game sense, timing, and other high-level play facets he already possessed, so take parts of this tip that work and discard what doesn't. But after you lord 2 characters from a specific role, go lord something in another role. Or lord one in each of the 2 roles you're lacking. This is going to build your field vision and perspective, resulting in a coveted game sense, right? It's also going to make you ban-proof. You know, don't go into the beginning of your matches fearing a ban, and then, you know, you want a capacity, not a crutch, right? Another new habit that I had to learn since the last video, and definitely, like, around Plat Plus, was magazine management, right? Especially as, like, Rocket and Sue Had to be more discerning with shots. You start to move into in the higher metals. You start to move into a pace where people will die during a reload. So minimize this by having a tighter shot group and trigger discipline. You don't get to spray and pray. You gotta face it with eyes open now. And then also get in the habit of reloading the second all action's gone. Like, you guys just won a team fight, or you guys just picked off a straggler or whatever. Like, just reload. Just get into the habit of reload and mentally resetting. Resetting your cooldowns. That's going to be a habit that's going to help you on way later. I'm on a second page here in my notes. Okay, so here's an old habit that we revised. It's cooldown tracking. Not ours, but others. So like at a higher level, it really means alt tracking and baiting out ults. But I'm new to this. You're new to this. So we're starting at 1v1s and team fights, right? This is another big part of why I originally swapped to Sue. I could control space better than a tank. I could also bait out things like Namor Bubble. I didn't know that at the time, but I just loved how I could like reactively cancel so much shit, right? Like, I can knock a Thor out of an alt. I can push Scarlet Witch out of the range. I can cancel an Angela and a Wolverine kidnap. Once in the first few weeks of Angela's release, pure accident. I was still new. They were still new. Everything was new. I sent an Angela to their death on the first corner of Araco. They hit the Spear, Divine Judgment, or whatever, the down slam out of flight, right as I was pushing somebody else. Dopamine Baja Blast, bro. Like, oh my god. I was high on that play for like 3 days, 4 days, trying to recreate it. Put myself in all sorts of terrible positions, trying to recreate that play. Just tunneling. Oh man, it was, you know, it was a good habit I didn't know I was using. Not the pushing people, but that's a good habit too. But like trying to swap from healing to all of a sudden pressuring Namor with Star-Lord, and now Namor has to bubble and dip out, right? Like, I knew I was doing that. I didn't know that was a skill, right? And so I've just refined it because Diamond's mixed enough now that like just noticing that and like not doing it with intention is gonna start to you're gonna start to lose 1 in 3, 2 in 3 fights, right? Where your enemy is using cooldown baiting with intentionality, right? So the idea is like keeping track of things the enemies would have in their kit that you're aware of, right? Because like again, this video is aimed at beginners to mid-level player, mid-early beginner player. Oh no, they had a lever for that one. This is decent Psylocking, looks like. Especially if you, so like this comes in handy as you learn your matchups, right? As you play a character to Lord. If you play Sue, you're going to learn really fast that you can just make Angela not play the game. Even just passively shooting all your cooldowns, you will eventually have enough games under your belt as Sue where, like, you've seen Angela fall because of Vortex Bubble, right? You've seen Angela come off pushing somebody over the ledge because you pulled her, right? And so sometimes there are things that don't work quite as well, right? Like Sue can just shut Angela down. Sometimes you need to get around certain things. Maybe you need to get around Loki runes. You want to dive, but you see a Loki and you know he has runes. Like, so you want to go bait out. Or be paying attention to Loki so that if, you know, your team's Thor or Venom or Spider-Man or something can also bait out a Loki rune, right? You want to know that so that the thing you were planning to do once Loki didn't have his runes, now you can go do that, right? And the attention to that is so short, you get to do it and it results in a play. So that brings me on to another new habit, which is timing. Right, we're finally getting to a place at a low metals where we need to use our cooldown with our cooldowns with direct intent. Like we're no more just APM on cooldown mentality. It's APM with purpose. Sue might not know the massive difference because, like, there's plenty of scrums on Sue where using your cooldowns with intention leads to baiting somebody out. So, like, those two habits can kind of, like, right? But with, like, Rocket, the idea of timing as a separate thing becomes a little more apparent, right? The BRB, perfect example. If you employ it correctly, you can turn a fight into a 7v6, right? Because, like, you can go into a 6v6 team fight. They get a pick early, but they used a bunch of resources for it. And then the guy they just picked just jumps right back into the fight. Right? So, like, now you're back to, you know, so it's like, you just burned all those cooldowns for a dummy person. And so, there are, however, like in my time, getting Rocket to Lord, plenty of times when you can mess up the BRB, okay? And it all comes down to timing. One of the three ways is you place it somewhere safe, but the team moved further either than you anticipated, or than you were keeping track of because you guys have been steamrolling them for so long in some sort of like prolonged stagger or something, and you forgot that you in Yggdrasil you put the beacon at the first y-axis at the first choke point, right? But then you guys won, and you staggered them, and you hit that checkpoint. And then you hit the next long tunnel, and then you hit the next long bridge, and you're almost at the next checkpoint, and you haven't moved your beacon yet, right? Because you forgot. Because, like, you guys have been moving so easily. And then somebody finally dies, right? It's like that's a timing thing. You didn't think about the timing of their stagger ending and yours starting. You place it somewhere. The next way you can mess it up timing-wise is you place it somewhere great. You forgot about it for two team fights. They adapted, like they approached it the same way twice. They adapted to that, and their diver found it right as they're about to attack their third time. And you know, the timing on the timing of the game, of the round, is what you're missing there, right? Because, like, after 2 team fights where you didn't use your BRB, I have gotten in the habit, if I even get to 2 team fights of not using one, of pulling it back and putting it in a new location. Because, like, maybe somebody hit it, but didn't finish it. Maybe somebody took note of it and is going to come back on the next team fight, like a Spidey whipping around or something. Like, whatever. Like, you know, I've played with it enough that I've learned this habit from observation. And then the third way is you placed it somewhere in a rush. It's either exposed and destroyed, or it didn't fit and it didn't deploy and you didn't notice it in time. Oh my, that one's so embarrassing. As like a 100-hour rocket, when you are in such a rush to get back into a fight that you throw it and it bounces funny and it goes 1 inch into the wall where the top of the beacon can't fully extend, and it does that stupid, and like the team fight is that you're trying to get back to has just started, so you don't hear the little in your ear that like it didn't deploy correctly, and then you see the tank die and not get rezzed. Embarrassing. And it comes down to timing. If your timing had been, my timing had been slightly better, if your timing had been slightly better, you wouldn't have been in a position to rush as much as you need to. Especially as a rocket, you can set up way in the back. You don't have as much liberty, but just like learning that timing and learning that timing specific to your character is part of what I'm talking about and part of what I mean. You know, just learning and observing that. So another new habit is alt discipline and proactive planning. So like Rocket's a good example of an alt that you should really proactively plan. Sue, kind of. Most people, myself in a general amount of games included, use Sue's alt as a reaction. But there's plenty of situations where if you just want to control space, trap people, like I've comboed it with a Thor before, you know, trap them inside of Sue ult and then they can't get away from Thors. But you know, that requires communication. But like Rocket's not going to, generally, low metals it might, if you can deploy and get the shield out fast enough. But Rocket ult is not going to save you, right? Rocket ult is either going to give you momentum going into a fight, or it's going to prevent you from falling way too far behind in a team fight, right? So it's like, it's for momentum and control. It's not necessarily for like invincibility frames. So you want to proactively plan it out, especially with like placement. If you know there's a spot, Yggdrasil again comes to mind. There's 3 or 4 spots where I really like to get into position and deploy it from a high location, because you're in a couple corridors where you have enough Y-axis where you can either get the beacon through one of the straightaways or through an entire turn, and placing it up high, being in position to be able to place it up high, makes it so that the enemy team has to either focus on continuing to fight you or look up to shoot a beacon. But I can rarely ever get that reactionarily, right? Like I'm rarely ever like, oh shit, we're getting ganked, let me put it up here. You know? So you want to be a little bit proactive with that, and that might include doing something like a call out, like you know, or just even calling out to your other support. I'll go first, you go first, something like that. But having that alt discipline and starting to cultivate that alt discipline around plat as soon as, because like there's certain habits that can get you out of like a bronze, silver, gold yo-yo. But you don't want to ingrain those habits. Like, you can lean on those habits early, but you don't want to ingrain them forever, right? And so, like, Alt Fiesta. Use alt when you get it in gold. Like, everything's chaotic enough, that's probably 60% of the time a decent plan, you know? Around plat, you're going to start having people that are waiting to counter you. In plat, high plat, plat 1, plat 2, you're going to start having people with a duo that are ready to counter and then punish you. You know what I mean? So, like, other people are starting to have a plan around this rank. You need to start having a plan around this point.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Your blades, are they psychic like mine?
No, my daggers are formed from pure light force energy. They purify whatever they touch.
And then to really fine tune and harp on this a little bit further, as far as like both the habit of timing and alt discipline, consistency in Diamond and beyond is going to come down to fine tuning your game sense. That's when you're really going to start to I want to say it was a Plat 1 Diamond rank up or a Diamond 3 to Diamond 2 rank up. Was like one of the first games where I knew decidedly that like my mistimed rocket ult or my mistimed Sue ult was what cost us the game. Like, decidedly. And I got to send because I'd made that mistake now. I had that VOD to VOD review, and I could, like, see it. It's like, once you see it, you're like, oh, okay, now I know how I can fine-tune it. Now I know how to sharpen that up. Now you can, like, once you identified the problem like that, like, you can know how not to make it again, right? In, like, a really decided way. And so, anecdotally, from me to you, you will get to a place where these timings are what matter. And then the sooner you start to utilize them and whatnot and fine-tune them, the sooner you're going to climb. And then you're going to yo-yo, and that's going to be a good yo-yo. Because, like, eventually you're going to get to a yo-yo that's like, you know, GM, Celestial, because that's, you know, quote-unquote, the rank you belong in. Whatever. But early medals, shit, in the entire engagement ring, the engagement ring being, you know, medals plus diamond, in the engagement ring, like, do you even have habits or not? Or do you just still play the majority of games with a gotcha mentality, a roulette mentality, a red on black mentality? You know what I mean? Like, that one more game mentality that we've talked about avoiding in past videos. So that looks like the end of my notes, so now we're just going to enjoy the rest of this exceedingly mid gameplay.
Watch your back!
Well, that's all for now. So until the next one, y'all stay blessed.